Well, tonight we're going to begin a new book, and to me, it's always been an exciting book for a number of reasons. It's a book that seems to be overlooked by most Bible buffs, and yet it's one of the most exciting books in the Bible. The book of Joshua. It's an exciting adventure story in its own right. Joshua is a warrior, a general. We've made, I think, what appear to be some discoveries, and yet at the same time, they seem to be unique. So the good news is the discoveries are of a nature you can judge for yourself. You can come to your own conclusions about their validity as we go. But there's a number of reasons to jump into the book of Joshua. One of the basic reasons, it's a historical book. It continues Deuteronomy. As you think of the venerated Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, or using the Greek, the Pentateuch, this is the book that introduces Israel to the land of Canaan, the promised land. And it turns out much of what's going to be in the book will be very relevant to today's headlines in terms of the dispute that presently faces the planet Earth over just who is entitled to the land. And so we're going to discover that Joshua has much to say of direct interest to us. In many respects, of course, it is the bridge between the Torah and the other historical books. It continues the Torah. The first of the 5 books, of course, Genesis, introduces the beginnings of the heaven and the earth, and, of course, the beginning of the state of Israel. The primary doctrine in Genesis, of course, is election. And we have Noah, Shem, Abram, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph, all in those unique roles. And we're going to see that this concept of election affects you and I. There's going to be some interesting parallels we'll draw here shortly. From there, of course, we go to the book of Exodus, which is the deliverance of the nation from Egypt. It went in as a family, came out as a nation under the leadership of Moses. The real doctrinal role of Exodus, of course, is redemption, and by grace. Even the burning bush itself, that prominent figure in the book of Exodus, is really a model of grace. We have the thorn bush of the desert, the thorn bush being a symbol of sin, on fire but not consumed, fire being judgment, but by not being consumed, it thus becomes a Levitical symbol, if you will, of grace. And it's always grace that draws us to God, not his righteousness, even though he is righteous. What draws us is his grace and his mercy. But anyway, from Exodus, of course, you go to Leviticus, which deals with the manner of worship. Even though it covers only 2 months of history, it's the principal book that defines fellowship and worship and the operation of the tabernacle and so forth. The whole issue of sanctification dealt in Leviticus. And that leads us to Numbers, the wilderness wanderings. We'll talk a lot about Numbers tonight to lay the groundwork for Joshua. But the book of Numbers, of course, is really a book about the failure of unbelief. And we'll see it operate, and then we'll see the victory that follows in the book of Joshua. Because Numbers really accrues because of their failure to enter in to the land, the failure to receive that which God had given them, and the failure to occupy what he'd given them. Numbers goes to Deuteronomy, which is primarily the doctrine there is obedience, and it becomes a bridge between the previous 4 books, which are outside the land, and the historical books from Joshua all the way to the First Chronicles of being in the land. There's a second reason to take the book of Joshua, not just because we said that's all history. We're going to attack it because it's a practical book for you and I. The book of Joshua is about warfare, about war. It's interesting that Joshua and the people of God were on the offense. They weren't defending, they were on the offense.